Hey everyone, it's JPC again, and this is episode number 10 for Back in My Day. This week I want to talk about communication, moving into the after hours segment of Boomer to Diamond. I was given a pre round routine, and I found kind of a huge shift in how prepared I feel before rounds after starting it. And it's really all about communication, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit, but it felt really topical to make that this week's topic. If you're enjoying the content, obviously, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out a lot, gives me a little virtual pat on the back as always. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys for watching. Here's some caveats. My biggest issue is I'm not great at communicating. It's actually been a struggle of mine in a lot of parts of my life. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but it must be stated that I'm just not great at it, and I know what my struggle is, and I've kind of compensated with those struggles. I do want to talk about that, so that'll be a part of what I discuss a little bit later. Additionally, I will throw out there that there are some challenges that come with communicating that I cannot even begin to make suggestions around. I don't even know what I would do if I was in those experience, if I had those experiences myself, right? I'll give an example is kind of the harassment that female players get when they try to comment games. It's extremely unfortunate that anyone has to deal with that. But if I was in a similar scenario, I probably would just also not calm, right? Like I don't know that I would have a good suggestion, but I also I can't fathom being in that scenario with it. So um, the commentary that kind of follows is more general and definitely not for everyone because again I've never been in those situations. So one, I'm sorry that anybody has to deal with that, but two, this may not be the best for those type of situations. All right, let's get into it. I want to start off kind of talking about factors of communication. I think a lot of people know these things, but it's kind of a little bit of a refresher. So let's talk about clarity, positivity, respect, awareness, and tools for that. So, for clarity, one of the things I like to kind of talk about is this is actually one of my struggles. I'll talk about it in a little bit when I go over my flaws. But clarity is it's conciseness as well. But the idea that I'm doing it right now. I'm struggling to get across what I want to even say about clarity. Right? Is that on purpose? I don't know. You guys decide. Um, Understanding that there is a good way and a bad way to kind of communicate, and with clarity, like don't ramble, don't use jargon. Figure out the calls, the call outs. Make sure that your team understands. Um, don't say actually Hujin talks about this a lot. Don't say he's on me because your team might not know who me is. There is a lot of clarity issues with that. And I think this comes with practice. This is something that, while it's a struggle of mine, because relatively, how do I say this? I would say I'm relatively new still at calming within Valorant. So there are callouts that I miss, especially in the heat of communication. There are I call out the wrong agent. I'll tell a story again later when I go into my flaws of clarity. At times, so I think it's straightforward, but it is something that I think is easy to deal with via practice. One of the practices that Wahujin talks about is the DM drill, where you're just calling everything out, the location and the enemy that you see, and if you kill them, you say that you killed them. If you don't, you say how much damage you did to them at the time. So, but it's in the middle of the fight, not afterwards. So it's I think it's something that can be practiced. Clarity is, especially in gaming, clarity is something that just takes time to figure out the way to do it. But you have to constantly do it. You have to be practicing it for that to come through. So positivity. So one of the things that everyone talks about is toxicity in Valorant or toxicity in games in general, and having to deal with those things. The only thing you can do to deal with toxicity is to be the positive example. um, that you want everyone else to be, right? So that's kind of the the special case here, right? And again, don't hesitate to mute people. I'm not saying don't do those things, but I always give everyone a chance. I always provide an opportunity for someone to be positive or to at least not be negative, because that's okay as well. Um, but that's the drive there. And if if somebody's negative on your team and you can be positive, you can overcome that positivity for your teammates, especially if it's to somebody else. This is one thing that I'm not going to talk about later, but I was playing a game the other day, and I was getting reamed by my I was bottom fragging, and I was getting reamed by my teams because I made a decision that ended up not being the best one, and my team was asking me why I made that choice, and like we were already down, like I think we are like 9-12 or something, and I was like, guys, like I'm like that one play is not the reason that we're about to lose game here, like that the other team's at game point, and uh the guy responded with like, yeah, but you can't take your 50s or something, you can't win your 50s, I don't remember. And somebody on my team spoke up and was just like, why are you guys being so toxic here? And then they just all turned on him, and I was relieved to not have to deal with it, but also I kind of just let them go at that guy. I muted them eventually, and I don't know what all was continued he said, but I was just like, I said my piece and I went, and he kind of stood up for me. So, you know, L teammate there from my side, but um, that's a big deal. And I could have like I could have quelled maybe it a little bit. I could have maybe even said my piece, like I'm not the reason that we're losing this game right here, like me alone. There are ways to use positivity to overcome toxicity, but at the end of the day, just muting bad people or toxic people is okay as well. You need to be positive over the long term. You don't need to be positive in every single situation that you're in. Respect. So it goes back without saying, right? You should respect everybody. And again, I have this kind of like theory, principle. We'll call it a principle. I joke around about it. It's that people talk about the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. Well, I have kind of an inversion of that, which is I assume people are treating me the way that they want to be treated. Um, it's the also golden rule. And so if somebody is respectful to me, I will absolutely be respectful to them. I have no problem with that. And I don't have an ego kind of when it comes to those things. I will never tell somebody that they're bad, that they're playing terribly, that it doesn't matter. I want to make sure that people understand that they're respected when we're playing, whatever. But the moment somebody becomes toxic to me, like I want to become toxic back to them. That is a problem that I have. And all kind of respect, it goes out the window. So it's something I can work on. But at the end of the day, like don't blame people. Like assume positive intent. Nobody goes into the game wanting to troll. I know that's not 100% true, but in general, we should assume that when somebody joins a game with us, that everybody is trying to win and trying to do their best. And I think that's the most respectful thing that you can do. It's again, assume positive intent. And then there's awareness of surroundings. So just be aware, right? If you're in the middle of a game and you die, just shut up. You can provide comms for like, you know, to or be main, blah blah blah, whatever type of thing. But stop talking about your skin collection. Stop talking about what happened last round. Stop talking, like it doesn't matter. Just let your team play out the match. Provide the good communication, but don't come. No ghost comms. Just be respectful of that and be aware of your surroundings. I actually hear about Hujin constantly even calm things like, "I'm reloading, cover me." That's that's huge too. That's a different kind of awareness of surroundings, right? Like I'm very bad at this and recognizing that I'm with somebody. I'm starting to, hey Sova, I'm with you. Hey Reina, bait me. She was gonna bait me anyway. But anyway, so like kind of awareness of those surroundings, like that's huge for one side of it, which is to make sure that your team knows that you're with them or that you have a plan in front of you. So be aware of those surroundings, but also be aware of the fact that like your team needs quiet sometimes. And if you're dead, if you're not providing effective communication, then shut up, as it is. And then the right tools. So at the end of the day, use your mic. If you don't have a mic, I don't know. I feel like there are many scenarios that I think people just don't have mics, can't afford them, things like that. Those things kind of suck. But I'm not going to read text chat while I'm playing. I'm just not. It doesn't. It does not. It's not effective. It takes my eyes away from the screen. It requires me to not focus on the my crosshair placement or mini map. So it's just an extra place for me to put my eyes, and I'm already terrible at all those other things. So I don't read text chat. So I feel like that's a big deal in terms of tools. It's frustrating, but you're effectively, I would say, you're probably better off not calming than to type things in text chat. In all reality, at the end of the day, um, pinging the mini map, doing things like danger or the other options for the radio will honestly like use them. Start using them more. Be helpful with the pinging. Use the tools. Find any way possible to point out enemy locations and or places for smokes and things like that. So use your tools. Um, yeah. At the end of the day, I think those are the main factors. Again, clarity, positivity, respect, awareness, and tools. And I think they're pretty straightforward, but we often kind of lose sight of those things as we're, quote unquote, learning. Um, the other thing, yeah, I'll bring it up now. So, if you're working on one of these things, I implore you to record and VOD review. I'm going to talk again a little bit about my kind of my flaws or my losses and my wins when it comes to communication and what I'm kind of doing around it. But don't hesitate to VOD review your communication um, for the clarity aspect. I'll kind of use that because it's something I'm working on. But watch back your game and see how clear and concise you were during your game, and then create action plans to fix those things. Sometimes, again, it's just maybe play DM and calm out your DMs. That's really helpful. Sometimes it's learning the mini map. Sometimes it's just taking a breath real quick before you calm, because calming within 1 second with a bad calm is worse than waiting 3 seconds to provide the good calm. Again, that was more of a clarity thing. I think the other ones, but you can listen to your tone. You can ask somebody to review your comms and provide feedback about your respect or your positivity if it's something you can't be objective about. And that's possible. There's a lot of people who don't know how they sound. There's also recognizing things like cultural differences. For example, I have a friend who's Russian, and they are very direct. And everybody that I know that they know originally thought that they were just extremely rude, and it's not a rudeness factor. And don't get me wrong, I was like, bro, like that was a little extra. But explaining that to them, hey, like you're very direct, and I don't want to tell him to sugarcoat or to take something away from who he is, but stating something in the form of a question shouldn't sound like a moment of being berated. So just ask for help. It's okay to ask for help in those aspects as well. All right, so the my wins and my losses. So actually, I want to talk a little bit about what I struggle with, and recognizing those and kind of what I'm doing about them. Some of them are recent, so just literally doing this routine. For background, um, and clarity for anyone who doesn't know. So right now, my pre-round routine, which is my current only focus when I play, um, for the first part of After Hours, is to create a pre-round routine, which right now is I take a deep breath. This is something that Well, hold on. I'll go into that in a second. So I take a deep breath. I check the economy. That includes and should include kind of the status of ultimates and how close people are to ultimates. Um, if the enemy might be fighting for an orb, or we should fight for an orb. So economy is the first check. The second check is where my team is. So after I check that, I kind of look and see on the mini map where is my team gone, and then I build a plan for myself, and then I communicate that plan. Um, all of those things are extremely easy until it got to communicating a plan. There are times where I couldn't come up with a plan because I need playbooks for that, but the communicating a plan was extremely difficult. Um, so kind of putting that out there. Wait, where was I going with that? I think that before I go into the wins and losses, the reason that I chose breathing um, as my I guess trigger, right? I guess that's what we used the term for was a trigger. So the trigger for the pre-run routine. The reason that I chose breathing is whenever I played sports, I was never somebody that needed to be hyped up. I didn't need to listen to, whatever music people listen to. I had friends who listened to like metal or some listen to rap or whatnot. I can't think of there are other genres that people would listen to outside of kind of those, maybe like some type of rock or punk maybe. Anyway, ignore me, I'm a boomer. um I never needed that. I needed to be centered. My adrenaline was already high going in, and I was already kind of lit, I guess, when it came to it. And I learned this early on when I played ultimate frisbee, that I needed to get away from the group before each game, and I needed to essentially meditate. So this breathing, I kind of stole it from um, a baseball player right now. So Rafael Devers. Actually, I don't think he's doing it this year, but up until this year, Rafael Devers, who I believe got it from JD Martinez, who is now on the Dodgers, but Rafael Devers would step out of the batter's box, um, between pitches or even going into the batter box before the first pitch. He would drop his arms to his sides, close his eyes, take a deep breath, and then blow it out very quickly. And then he would reset and then step into the batter's box. So that's why I chose to do this. But I was thinking about it back in the day, um, pun intended. Um, when I played Ultimate Frisbee, I would do it at the beginning of the tournament. So we would play multiple games. But I would step away from the team and I would is pseudo meditate. I try to calm down, and I would actually listen to like very soft, gentle music whenever we were warming up to try to prevent that. So um, it's something I've always kind of wanted to do, and I think kind of has always been a part of my personality. And then trying to decide what my trigger would be while I was actually watching a baseball game, and I saw Rafael Devers do it, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So that's where that comes from. So the problem is doing this routine, I have figured out that there are some flaws that I have when it comes to communication, and I'm going to have to work through those. So clarity. So I brought it up earlier, and I'm going to talk about it now. So clarity is a problem of mine. So I'll give a couple of examples. Even today on stream, so it's Sunday. I played a game on Woohootin stream this morning, and there were three mid, and they were pushing up male, and I was playing B Heaven, and I backed away and said 3B. So, in an attempt to be concise, instead of saying 3 mid pushing B Heaven, I shrunk that down to 3B. And the call was 100% wrong because of that. So, there is a trade off between conciseness and clarity that I have at times. That, especially in the middle of kind of chaos, that I lose. And that's something that I think over time I'll figure out, but I have to actively um, do that. So I'll point out the only reason I know that is because I went back and every time I play on stream, I go back and I rewatch it. I try to VOD review my games always. Um, so I went back and I watched, and I actually saw that situation. And I was like, "Yeah, that's a shit comp. I can't believe that came out of my mouth." I was playing another game the other day on Heaven, We pushed B, and there were two people alive. There was a Sova and there was a KJ. And Sova ulted, and KJ threw a molly. And I mixed them up. I said Sova was on A and KJ was on C. Um, and right afterwards, somebody died to the KJ and coming from A because it said that they were on the other side, yeah. And they just started berating me about the bad comm, and I was like, one was on A and one was on C. Like, yeah, I get it, but at the end of the day, he's not wrong, right? While I did say one was A and one was C, I explicitly said who was A and who was C, and that call was incorrect, and it was because I was in the middle um, of a fight. I was in the middle of chaos, and I tried to be concise, and I was not clear while trying to do so. So that is a major struggle of mine, and I'll only fix that via VOD review. And again, I think taking a moment to provide the correct com. So another one here, I guess I listed short leash. Um, I mentioned earlier about kind of my inverted golden rule. I don't give a lot of leeway there. The moment somebody is being rude to me or to somebody else, and I just don't want to listen to it, I'll mute them. Uh, I don't think that. Uh, Actually, Huj and I were talking about this, and I kind of said I just like, okay, I'm muting you now, and he very correctly kind of stated that's like a middle school kind of getting the last word in type of thing. And yeah, he's 100% right. It does feel like that times when I do it. Like I'm like, hey, I'm muting you. Um, and then I mute them and don't let them kind of get a word back into me. But it's because I have a short lease and I don't want to deal with it. But as well as I want to get the last word in. I mean, that's who I am. So that's one thing that I think I have to figure out how to. I have to lengthen that leash a little bit to figure out how to give people more of a chance to provide, I guess, comms with me. And lastly, I listed here imperfect options. So the reason that I put imperfect options is I'm always kind of looking for the best plan for where I'm at. I know I don't know enough to make the best plan, but I'm always trying to concoct the best scenario for what I know and where I'm at. And because of that, I get kind of in my head and I'm thinking, and not talking. So it's one of my problems. Right, good and done is better than perfect. It needs to be something that I'm focusing on um, with that, and I think that's going to be fixed a little bit with this routine. And it'll definitely be fixed with more playbooks that kind of get added to my arsenal and watching pro plays, watching pros play ranked. Even watching pro games, I think will help a little bit in kind of understanding this is an option. This is something you can do. Most of my plans right now are you go one of the mains and I'll go mid, right? Or something like that. Let's control X. So they're very limited on details. And I think that's something that'll come as I, again, continue practicing it via VOD reviews. All right, so I want to switch over to things that I feel like I'm good at. Um, Things that I see as being beneficial. So again, there may be things that I'm better at than what I'm going to list here, but these are, I guess, my favorite things that I do. So I have a habit of repeating things in game. I don't do it all the time, but there are times where I will say, um, you know, 130 to raise, 130 to raise, and just repeat that line. It's something that I learned from playing sports, giving the call and then giving the call a second time allows for anyone who didn't hear the beginning of the call to potentially hear it, right? Because they're in the middle of things. So it's a very good thing to get into within reason, of course. Explaining your detailed plan pre-round and then having to say that whole detailed plan pre-round probably is not a good thing to repeat. But she was last secret, and kind of thing. So there's benefit to repeating, and it's something I naturally do. Even in, like, when I start the game, I immediately like, hello, hello, how's everyone's day going? And I'll repeat those things. Kind of a weird habit that I've always had, and it tends to be beneficial for communication within chaotic scenarios. Positivity. So I try to remain positive. I feel like if somebody is not having a good game, I kind of, even if it's pure just hyperbole, right? Oh, you're gonna get an ace next round, no problem. Hey, it's fine. The game is uh, the outcome of the game is not important. Let's try to have fun, or let's try to focus on whatever learning, or whatnot. So I don't have a problem with that. I can be generally pretty positive. It's when people are overly negative that it makes it hard for me to be positive. So there's something I can learn there, but in all reality, positivity is not something that comes difficult. That is difficult. Yeah, positivity is not something that is difficult for me. Um, in game, and I don't have a problem kind of telling people it's okay, we got this, or whatnot. And I think that that'll just continue to grow as I get more confident in kind of what we can do and could do in different games. And then the last thing I have listed here is egoless. So I don't feel like I have an ego. I definitely have an ego, but I don't feel like I have an ego in all scenarios. Um, a situation where like a sage is telling me to bark in order to get a heal. I don't give a shit. I'll bark. I'll bark for somebody else. Like that doesn't bother me. Like they are not making me less of a person by making me meow or bark or something. I don't have a problem with those things. I was playing an Ascent game the other day, and this guy was being super toxic, and he asked to for me to buy him, and that's fine. I'll buy him. So I bought him, and he immediately typed in chat, "Good boy." Um, Things like that, like they don't bother me. Uh, you're not some you know toxic stepfather who needs to feel inferior or superior to me, and then therefore makes me feel inferior. But no, I don't. It doesn't do anything to me. So I don't have a problem with that. I think that I don't know if that's an age thing. I don't know if that's it's a video game thing, but I wasn't always that way. But I have noticed, like I whatever, I'll bark for a heal if it's if you need me to pay you in some uh, artificial currency that is me barking so you feel better about the role you selected, whatever, that's fine. So I think that's something that is it's easy to navigate when it comes down to it. But okay, so kind of listing those things out, I think that VOD review for the challenges, right? The clarity, the short leash, the imperfect options. If I selected one of those things and just reviewed a match, those things would be easily identified. And while I may not be able to fix the I don't know what is the best plan here thing via VOD review, VOD reviewing other things. Again, the watching the pro matches or watching pro players play ranked and seeing the way that they kind of set up play, those things will help. And I think that I go back to it. It's a weird thing to suggest, but VOD reviewing your comms is viable and actually extremely helpful. You don't even have to watch the gameplay. You can not watch the game at all. Just put it on a different screen, put it behind something, and listen. Um, within reason, of course. Did you see Reyna? But you said Rays. Sure, those things probably need to be monitored and watched, but for the most part, it's very, very effective, and it's actually been really fun to just VOD review the pre rounds. They go very quickly. um, did I breathe? Did I check my econ? Sweet. Did I look at my teammates? I assume that it's happened. I don't have a way to validate that. Um, and then did I come up with a plan and communicate the plan? Super simple, very easy to do. So the clarity thing, super simple. Was I clear and was I concise? And I think it's just valid. It's something that if you've never done and it's something you want to work on, VOD review is a good option. All right, so the last thing here is like kind of like extra things that I want to throw out. So, active listening. I want to talk about active listening and I want to talk about smiling when you speak. So, active listening in general, active listening is more of when somebody's talking to you face to face, you're nodding your head along, you're somewhat repeating the things that they're saying. Okay, yeah. Interjecting. Okay, I get that. Oh, yeah, I understand that. I get your meaning. You're not interrupting, but you're interjecting that you're following along. So, active listening. There's a whole other study of active listening and different things that kind of go into active listening. But those are the two main things. If someone's talking to you and you're not nodding along, if you're just staring at them, the assumption is your brain is somewhere else. If you're not repeating things periodically, or again interjecting with like, okay, I get that. Um, the assumption is you're not retaining it. So that's why if people tend to ask you, does that make sense? That's not a nervous tick from the person asking or talking. That's an assumption that maybe you're not actively listening well enough, or to a degree that they feel like you're retaining. So active listening is super important. It makes it difficult because it's a voice call, right? No, you can't nod along with somebody. Um, you can interject. So I'll kind of point that out. So the interject piece is, I think, what's important here. When somebody's commenting something, acknowledge it verbally. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we can do that. Too often do I calm something and nobody says a word afterwards. And again, maybe I've been muted. That's totally fine. Maybe that's been the situation up to that point. But if you want to be a good communicator, if you want to be good at communication, part of it is being good at listening, and this is that part of the communication segment. Um, don't hesitate to say yes, I'd like that. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. Hey, maybe we do that, and can I lurk still? Um, Add to it, acknowledge what you heard, and be active in the conversation. That will make you a significantly better communicator and help the people who are actually calming, which we all want, feel like their comms are being utilized, which is a benefit to everybody at the end of the day. Okay, smiling when you speak. So I have a background in my work history that's been in call centers. And this is something that has come up for, it's been years that people have talked about doing this in call centers. So it can help with positivity to force yourself to smile while you are calming. What this does is it puts your face, your mouth, in a position to immediately sound positive. And it makes it easier for people to listen to you when you are smiling. Um, it's very effective, it's useful. And again, I think that if you want to be the best communicator you can on a call that has no picture, there's no video of you, smiling while you speak can actually be a very easy way to maximize your ability to communicate, or at least for people to listen to your communications. So this is a little bit extra. It's not a whole lot of additional detail. You're always going to get your party chatters, your Disco Daniels. You're gonna have these people that are talking to their teammate or their party, their duo, their trio, and they're not listening to what you're saying in the first place. That's going to happen. Those are not things that you can fix, but what you can do is on your side of the line, be the best talker, the best communicator, the best listener that you can be, and it is good in the long run. Don't get concerned by one or two games where people are negative to you for trying to do these things. It's okay. That should be 100% the exception. And I know I hear all the time that EU is different than NA. I read it in chat and I hear Wahujin kind of respond to it. Um, yeah, okay, it's possible that there's a cultural difference there, but um, why not try it? Why not do it and ignore the negativity that comes with it and find a way past that? Because it's been proven to be effective in some places. It probably just needs to be attempted more times. to get a better feel for it. If we hang on to the negative scenarios, we will never see the positive scenarios. So just try it. Just smile while you talk, be positive, and be an active listener. And I think that you're going to see a lot of benefit to the listening side and the responding side of communication. All right, that's it. I'm done for the week. Quick recap. So I kind of listed all the factors of communication: the clarity, the positivity, respecting others, awareness of your surroundings, and using the tools. Again, I think all five of those things are things that are easily assessed just via you already know what you are and aren't like, but also VOD review. So don't hesitate if these are things that you feel like you can be better at to just record your game. You were probably already doing it in some way, shape, or form, and go back and uh, check it out. How clear were you? How concise were you? How positive were you? How respectful do you feel like you were? I went into some of my struggles and some of what I consider to be my favorite communication styles that I have. And that, again, I think it'd be very simple for me to VOD review these as I'm learning to do them better. The new routine, I think, is going to do some of them for me already. But the short leash one, the thick skin, that's going to be something that I will have to actively work toward. It is very difficult for me to not, again, treat others how they are treating me, as has been a life kind of philosophy when it comes to people. And then the active listening and the smiling, kind of additional line items that I added in here at the end. I feel like those are very, very helpful. And again, I think that you want to listen and you want to be as positive as possible. And those are two skills that I think can help with that. For next week, I want to go. So the topic is motivation. I'm going to kind of talk about what motivates me, how I stay motivated, and when things aren't kind of going well, how I get back to being motivated when things kind of deteriorate. So a little bit of a motivation podcast. I felt like I had some people kind of bring up how do you stay motivated questions, type of questions, and I thought it would be something to detail down and talk about. All right, that's it for the week. Thank you all for watching and listening, and good luck in your games. Have a good one.